Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Couch Potato Queen's Bachelor Recap. I am your host, Alex, and I'm here with my best Judy as always, Ken.
Hey, everyone. How you doing?
There she is, Miss America. Right there. All right, y'all. Before we get into it, me and Ken were talking a bit about this episode, and man, was the fantasy suites boring.
Very.
We have been excited for this episode pretty much since the beginning. We've been talking about, can't wait, what is going to happen on fantasy suites, and girl, nothing. That's what happened.
Nothing. It was. I just don't even know what to say about it because I just kept thinking 1,000-Pound Sisters is on right now.
I know. I'm like, man, I want to know if Tammy has COVID.
I know. I want to know how she's doing.
Tammy, are you okay? Please let us know if anybody watches 1,000-Pound Sisters because we're thinking about doing a podcast about that for season 3. So,
and would you watch?
Would you watch? Please let us know.
Yeah.
TLC in general. Let us know your thoughts. But let's get into this boring episode of The Bachelor. I feel like I've said that multiple times on this podcast, but this time I mean it. So we start with 3 very moody monologues from each of the girls, and we see them introspectively reminiscing on their, I think, 8 or 9 weeks of dating Matt.
I think 9 now. We're on episode 10, so I think 9.
Yeah. There are 9 weeks of dating Matt. Everybody's kind of saying the same thing. They're excited to be at this phase. They're excited to get to know Matt on a deeper level during this week. And that is really what we see in the beginning. We then cut to Chris entering in and talking about how we have had 38 women on this season.
That blew my mind.
I know.
38? That was, I just kept thinking, how, aren't there usually 30? So, we had 10 more women. No wonder we don't know who anyone is, and no wonder we don't think that he's really formed a connection with anyone, because there's way too many fucking women for us to keep track of. Same with him, probably.
Women. I wonder if they counted Heather in that 38 women.
That's a very good question.
I wonder if they counted Heather and her rented van in the city. Never forget rented van.
That rented van had to count for at least 3 women.
Absolutely. For Halloween this year, I'm going to be the rented van.
I'll be Heather. You'll be the rented van.
We can do the tandem horse costume.
Yes.
In the back.
The big white van taking the candy instead of giving the candy. Anyway.
That is true. That is an overcrowded high school class. Yep.
Yep, you're right.
It's a lot of girls. It's kind of weird to compare.
I like it though. That's an easy way for me to picture it, because I had overcrowded high school classes, and so it's okay. All of that's a lot of women.
Well, anyway, we have whittled down these 38 women to 3, and it is time for them to, as Chris said, have off-camera time to have the tough conversations. And we all know what happens on Bachelor Fantasy Suite Week.
No, we don't. The cameras are off.
We know that they fucking in that room. I'm just going to say it.
I've been trying to figure out how I'm not just going to be 12 through this whole episode, because they all want to fuck so bad.
The episode will be Go Blue, so y'all are not here for that. Sorry. But yes, 3 women per van. 13 men. Yeah, no, the rented van was really the highlight of this season of The Bachelor. When Heather showed up in her rented van.
Why a van?
So much.
Just why?
She was like, I drove here in my rented van.
But why do you need that much space?
Like all of her ball gowns she was gonna wear for all the rose ceremonies she was gonna get invited to.
Yes,
I don't know.
that's what it was.
That looked empty though. Anyway, Chris is talking about all of the tough conversations that they're gonna have in their fantasy suites. And when I think fantasy, do you think tough conversation? Is your
No.
fantasy a tough conversation, Ken?
No. Sounds like something I pay $120 an hour for.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's something I do in a very suave hotel room with a hot tub after a sexy date.
You know what I want to do after this sexy date? I just want to have a tough conversation.
That's it. That's all I've been wanting to do this whole time. That's all I've been wanting is for the cameras to turn off so I can talk to you.
When you first start dating somebody, you know those sparks are flying when you're just like, man, I cannot wait to get this person home, slip into something more comfortable, and just have a tough conversation with them.
Honestly, I think that we'll see that Matt's tough conversations weren't very tough because he has the same exact fucking one with every woman.
Literally every single thing. These dates are literally identical. But anyway, Michelle has the first date card, so no sloppy seconds for Michelle. Congrats, girl.
I almost didn't want her to get the first date card because I didn't want Matt to forget about her.
I know. I was kind of bummed. I wanted her to go last, but
I did too.
I kind of like that the order that they did, but we'll
yeah, I'm okay with it.
We'll get there.
We'll get there.
So the first thing that happens that's really notable is that Matt and his dad reconnect. Matt says that he has some unfinished business to deal with before he's ready to propose, and surprise, surprise, it is his dad. He needs to close this chapter of his life, which honestly, I'm kind of glad they did this because Matt's talked about his dad every single episode. This is obviously something that's been weighing on him. So, you know what? Yeah, a good place to have a tough conversation, rent a van. For anybody watching who doesn't know, Adam's my partner. Adam and I have really tough conversations in rented vans all the time.
Yeah. Do you guys like rent them just to do that?
Oh, yeah, we rent vans constantly just to have those conversations.
I'll have to take that into consideration next time. I felt kind of weird about this conversation happening here. I felt like this was a show stunt and Matt wasn't like this wasn't really the place for it, and the production probably encouraged it for views. Like, no, you got to get your dad on here.
Yeah,
like it wasn't really the space. In my personal opinion.
It really is. Most of my salary goes towards
van rentals. Yeah.
But no, I agree with you, Ken. This whole scene really felt uncomfortable to me until the end.
Yeah.
I do think at the end it seemed like a genuine moment. So just to kind of recap what's going on with this dad conversation, Matt confronts his dad about him not really being there while he was growing up, about him cheating on his mom. And his dad responds with something that Matt has said to women that he's dated. He said this to Serena P last week, where Matt's dad just says, you just got to let that stuff go. In response to, you weren't there for my childhood, he says, you just got to let that stuff go. And I'm like, well, I'm kind of seeing where Matt gets kind of like his weird, kind of like standoffish, Yeah,
like the defense mechanism there.
Yeah, like I can see that. Like that kind of made sense for me, kind of how he has treated kind of like the Serena situation from last episode. I'm kind of like a little more empathetic for Matt now.
Yeah. I understand more where I think I can see a little bit clearer where Matt's coming from and his responses to women this season from this conversation. But I don't know. I think like just the whole conversation as a whole, like from the beginning, you could see that Matt's dad didn't really understand why he was there. Like he even said, no, son, it's not what this is about. We're here to celebrate. And Matt's like, no, this is not why we're here. And then
You knew production did not tell that man anything.
Yeah, so that made me a little uncomfortable, and
Colin.
yeah, I thought that was kind of unfair, and then
Yeah.
I also thought that, when Matt did start, speaking his truth and, like, saying how he was feeling, his dad started to try to explain his story, and he was being very defensive, and he was like invalidating the way Matt was feeling. But at the same time, Matt had no ears for his dad. And then Matt comes out and says that this whole conversation was not a space for his dad. He did not want to hear what he had to say. He just wanted to reassure himself that he was not his father. And I thought that was kind of unfair. I thought, I don't know. I understand where he's coming from, but I don't think you should use someone else's emotions to their expense like that.
When you're on something like The Bachelor and you are like The Bachelor, it seems like it becomes like such an ego trip because this whole thing is about you.
Right.
So I feel like this conversation was clouded with that like Bachelor gaze,
That's what I'm thinking too.
Only seeing it from his perspective. And like, I don't agree with the things that Matt's dad did.
No, I don't either. I do think that Matt's dad was in the wrong, and I think that he did traumatize his sons, and that there's no justifying it.
I don't think this conversation was enough of a two-way street, or at least they didn't show it, because I feel like this conversation has to have been longer than what we saw.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
It did end, though, in a very, very sweet moment where Matt's dad is like sweating profusely, and he finally apologizes, and you can tell that something did kind of click with his dad, and he realized, maybe I do need to listen to what my son's saying and think about my actions from the past, because he literally cuts Matt off to give him a big hug, and that seemed really genuine.
I think that his dad realized why he was there.
Yeah.
I think that the cutting him off and giving him a hug was kind of a deflecting moment of, I don't want to sit here and hear more of it. I can't sit here and hear more of it. We're going to hug and make up for it, because I don't need to hear more of it. Like, I already know what I did was wrong. But at the same time, like, he didn't want to hear it.
I felt like
I think it was genuine.
It really did seem genuine to me.
Yeah, no, I think it was genuine, but I think it was a deflection at the same time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very that. Either way, Matt seems to be satisfied.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good conversation.
I guess I'm fine now, but I wonder if they'll have him on for next week, if they'll have the dad there.
I don't think so. I think it's just his brother and his mom.
I think so too. But we get into Michelle's date. And it is a Pennsylvania spa day, baby.
I didn't know that Pennsylvania had a specific spa tradition.
So let me break it down for our viewers of what a Pennsylvania spa day is, apparently.
According to The Bachelor.
Putting your feet in a, what I presume was cold oatmeal. And then once you put your feet in cold oatmeal, you just rub butter, sticks of butter, not even like it didn't have like essential oils in it, or
just sticks of butter,
just like heated up sticks of butter. Literal like cooking butter.
Yes, like big ones, like baking butter.
Like you're gonna cut it up and put it in a cake butter. Just rubbing it on each other's bodies. I'm like, how is this pleasant?
I'm sure it's good for your skin. Yeah. I don't know.
Imagine if someone was like, we're going on a date and we're going to a spa. I'd be like, work, hunty, here for this. Spa day. And then they're like, but it's just me and you rubbing butter on each other. I'd be like, this is not happening.
I mean, I would be down for it. I'd do it and I'd have fun. I wouldn't care. But I wouldn't think that it was a spa anymore necessarily. I wouldn't think that there was necessarily much therapeutic benefit. I would just be like, okay, we're rubbing butter on each other. This is funny. And then we're going to go fuck in this hotel room.
Yeah, no.
But also this date was, I have to say it kind of gave me like Criminal Minds cannibal vibes. Because covered themselves in oatmeal and then butter, and then they covered themselves in milk. And it sounded like you should probably like fry up after that. Like it sounded like a cannibal. There's a Criminal Minds episode where he just rubs people with oil to marinate them and to put in the chili. That's what it reminded me of.
Well, if it comes out in the future that someone who worked on The Bachelor is a story editor, a story writer, is like a cannibal serial killer, we'll know who planned the date.
Yep. Yep. All I'm saying. I thought it was funny. That's what it reminded me of. And I know that if I was on that date, that's what I would be thinking about is like, oh, we're buttering ourselves up for the serial killer. That's funny. And then I would probably get sent home shortly after that.
Wild. Wild, truly.
Bachelor is crazy.
Dinner date. Matt tells Michelle about his conversation with his dad. She's like, wow, I want to be here for you to listen to all these conversations because I'm your wife. And then he awkwardly like picks up the plate of food that they're not eating. And then he's like, but how about, now that we're done talking about my dad, how about we go have some tough conversations?
Word.
If this conversation wasn't tough enough for you wait until Fantasy Suites, girl.
What do you want to know about me that you don't know already that you got to learn off camera?
Yeah. And Michelle says yes. And then Michelle tells him that she is in love with him.
Mm-hmm.
She says, Matt, I love you. She says it. She says that she loves him.
Yeah.
And Matt does not say a damn word.
He sticks his tongue down her throat.
And just goes, eh. He just kisses. That's it. He does not say it back. Nothing.
Nope. He can't say it back.
Like, just imagine that you are telling someone you're dating that you love them for the first time.
I know.
Respond, and then you go into a hotel room with them.
I know. I would be devastated.
We need to talk about this.
Yes. At least acknowledge like that I said it. Like, don't just
hear me.
Yeah.
That's her.
Excuse me, Matt, did you hear me?
Do you have anything to say to me?
Matt, how do you feel right now?
I mean, that's probably the tough conversation they were having.
That's the tough conversation. That's right. They're setting it up for us.
Morning arises. And Michelle brings up that she told him that she was in love with him, and Matt says the words of death in the Bachelor series 25, which are, thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah.
Every time that a woman has told Matt that she is starting to fall in love with him or anything, and then Matt responds with, thank you for sharing that with me, gone within 2 episodes.
Every time.
Michelle, it is not looking good for you.
Nope.
Not looking good. It was cute, though, when he yelled from the window.
Yep, I 100% agree.
Oh, yeah. No, we knew it was done that.
Yeah, the yelling from the window was cute, but I did think it was weird why he didn't walk her out.
And I also thought it was weird when he was like, Michelle, I thought he was going to say, I love you too.
You did? He's not going to say it like that. He can't profess his love like that. He still has to pick people.
No, I mean, is he like not allowed to say it? Is that like...
I mean, we'll get to his conversation with Rachel, so he's allowed to say something.
Yeah. It just... He said the dreaded words. He said, thank you for sharing that with me. And it was done. And yes, Kelly, that was,
and we knew it was over.
The last straw for this relationship.
Yeah.
So we now see back at Nemacolin that Rachel is jealous. Rachel is fuming. Rachel is talking Bree's ear off about how mad she is that Matt is with another woman right now. And I'm like, girl, do you know what show you're on?
Do you know how far you are? Like, why are you being so insecure right now, dude? Like, I get insecurities are real. We can all feel them. But, like, you gotta like sit and gossip on the couch about it to this point? Really? Is that bad?
It was also funny to me how Brie had gotten no screen time.
I know.
Like, they did not even try and give us an inkling that Brie might be a contender in this race.
No, not at all. I made note of that too. I was like, I am still confused about who this person is. I still don't know how they are so close. Like, how they get here? I don't get it.
Michelle does show up, and Rachel is mad about it. And Michelle is just raving about how her and Matt were able to have conversations and conversations and conversations and conversations.
And you just love the time that you get with him to have conversations.
Conversation after conversation after conversation.
And really, guys, it was so worth the wait. You're going to love your conversation.
You're going to love your conversations. Oh, what are we talking about? We want to know.
We're talking about fucking.
I like how just like the universal term for fucking is conversation.
I have lots of conversations.
Because she knows what that means. She knows what conversation means. So then we move on to Brie's date. And I will say it again, I said it last week, Brie gets the worst date.
Yep.
What the fuck was this date?
I liked it, but not for this. Not for Fantasy Week.
No, Brie is going camping and hiking.
But not.
Their date is just they go for a walk in the woods where they walk all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then Matt says, okay, let's pitch this tent. And then they do.
And they light a fire. Yep. I mean, like for a day date, I would be okay with that. But not for Fantasy Suite night. Like, do something real. Why are we walking through this like 3-foot wide patch of woods to go to a field with huge fucking packs on our back, sleeping bags and everything, to pitch a tent, light a fire, and sit here for an hour?
No.
Why? What are we doing? We're not staying all night? You don't have food?
What are we
doing? What are we doing?
Why are we here?
And then you just take me to a hotel. Like, if this was any other day, cute. Spend a few hours in that tent. That's the time you get. Great.
I'm just like, did they just like run out of ideas? They're like, here, your date is weird food spa. Your date is ceramics instructor. And like, here's just a tent for y'all.
Yes.
Like, literally nothing.
I think so. And like, nothing happened on this date.
We're pitching a tent.
Yes. And he was like making a big deal about how he was lying to her about being an outdoorsman, how he's never actually camped before either. And that never came up again.
No, he didn't even say like,
he didn't like,
I'm not really an outdoor.
No, he didn't.
She was just like, are we staying out here? And he's like, no.
No.
That's all that happened.
It was weird.
Are we staying here?
No.
Like sick prank. Jeez. So we do get to Brie's dinner day, and Brie asks how he feels about the potential for an engagement. You know what?
Do you think, Alex?
I think that 2 of these dates were better than one of Tayshia's fantasy date.
Yeah.
Me and Ken had some really strong opinions about one of Tayshia's fantasy dates. And that was Brandon's fantasy date where they just picked out wedding rings.
That made me so fucking mad. Like, our fantasy date is going to be for me to take you to a grocery store, a grocery store to pick out an engagement ring for me. I'm going to stand there and try on rings and bracelets and necklaces, and
you're gonna watch.
You're going to watch. Do you like this date I planned for you? Isn't this nice?
Do you like watching me try on rings that you probably couldn't afford if we weren't on TV?
Right? Like, here's what I like. Like, okay, I can't give you any of those things. This is what you want. No wonder he left.
I did like the ice bucket date. I thought that was fun because they were breaking a world record.
I thought that was so stupid.
Like, it was stupid.
They were all so stupid. They were all stupid. But anyway.
I agree. The cutout taxi was so random.
And they brought that to the engagement, too.
Oh my God. I know. The cutout taxi was so cringy. But anyway. I think that these two dates were better than the one Brandon date from Tayshia's season.
I think they were all better than Tayshia's season dates because they were actually
a tent.
I don't think that was that bad of a date. It was just confusing. Like, what's wrong with going for a walk through the woods and lighting a fire? Like, that's fine. I love that. I think that would be nice. But it was just they were all just so kitschy in Tayshia's. Yeah, the taxi. They were all just so kitschy. Like, there's no need. At least these were actual dates.
He's like, let me take you to New York in this cardboard taxi.
Right? No.
God. I feel like there's a lot of shows that are thriving in this pandemic, reality show universe, and Bachelor is just making it awkward.
Mm-hmm. They're not thriving.
But yeah, that tent really, really confused me. But we get to the dinner date, and guess what? Matt tells Bree about his dad again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same conversation from the last time.
Mm-hmm. Same thing.
Yep. And then Bree says that she's in love with him, and Matt doesn't say anything back.
Nope.
Not a damn thing.
Real big smile.
How about we go to the fantasy suite then? And she's like, let's go. Another situation of you tell someone you love them, and then they're like, I'm not going to say anything back, but how about we fuck?
It's so uncomfortable.
I know.
Poor girls.
Even in the morning, Matt still doesn't say that he loves her.
Mm-hmm.
So we cut back to Nima Collin, and Rachel is still jealous and does not want to see Bree when she comes back from her date. You can tell that Rachel's mad that production put her
last. Yeah, she's really mad. She really wanted to be first. I do love, though, that every time we see Rachel, like, trying to kind of, like, get into it with the other girls, like, being all upset and everything, the other girls, like, do not engage. They're just like, yeah, it sucks.
Because
I'm not going to sit here and gossip.
Emotionally, and they understand that this is
right, exactly. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be upset about something that I put myself into, and I can't control his feelings. Like, this is what I signed up for.
Because it's one thing to feel sad or feel upset. Because I
was
in a situation like that, I would feel sad or upset, even if I knew going into it that would be the situation.
Yes, and they all did.
Yeah.
But they all didn't freak out.
But they weren't, like, freaking out and making things unbearable for other people in the house. Like, that was just, like, a tantrum that was not a cute look on her.
Yeah, and I agree.
Yeah.
I think it was a red flag. It made her look very insecure, and I think that, she kept saying, like, Matt's with 2 other women. Like, how can he be with 3 women? How can he possibly like 3 women at the same time?
Because you're on The Bachelor, girl.
So if you do win and if you are engaged, how long are you going to hold it over him that he was with 37 other women?
Yeah, I feel like that would be something where you would throw Fantasy Suite Week back in your partner's face if this is how you're going to react. You know?
I think that if she does win, they are definitely not lasting. And that's going to be really hard on Matt because
Aside
Abby's
from
walking
all of the
away.
Rachel drama, I do not see this relationship being successful just based on who she is as a person.
Right. But then think about this whole,
of it all.
right. And then think about like this whole episode too is framed on Matt not wanting to be like his dad, so not walking away. And so I'm seeing Matt ending up with Rachel and then having to walk away from her, and how hard is that going to be on him?
Exactly. So we do get to Rachel's date, and Rachel has just gotten done crying, getting ready for her date. She's shown up, and you can tell that she's pissed when she walks up. The energy is not the same as the other two girls were. And they are going to be making ceramics together. How fun.
How fun.
How
so
fun.
Awkward. This is the only date that someone else was on.
Right. Of course that this is the date where there's a third person.
Right.
God bless this ceramic instructor's heart, because you know that she was probably so excited to get cast as a ceramics instructor, because she's like, a pot is like a relationship. Sometimes it's not perfect, and you just have to keep working at it. And Rachel's just like,
fuck this pot.
We need to talk.
Yeah, she's like, I can't do this anymore. Stop this. We need to go talk. And it also gave me like a note of her maturity levels when she was going into the date. Before we get too far, she was saying that she really didn't want her negative mood or like her feelings for the other girls to like impact this date. She really, really didn't want to walk into this date and feel like Matt felt any differently. But she walked into this date angry. Like she was in a bad mood. You could tell. And she was not trying, like not negating how she was feeling. Her feelings are valid, but she wasn't trying, didn't look like she was trying at all to make it better, like to make her mood better. And she walked up and was like, hi, Matt. Okay, let's have a good date.
Very Eeyore energy.
Yeah, and it's like, girl, like you're bringing this energy. Like I was gonna say, like if she walked away from this date feeling like he didn't like her anymore, that's on her.
One thing that did surprise me is that I did realize with this that fantasy suites are 3 days in a row.
Mm-hmm. Yep, one after the other. Go, Matt.
Go off, sis.
I don't know. I'd get tested afterward if I were those girls.
I mean, just like 3 days in a row. I mean, that just like low key sounds like a UTI.
It's one man though and 3 women. It's not one woman 3 days in a row.
But like, what about Bachelorette? That sounds like.
Well, but we're not talking about Bachelorette right now.
Still, I feel like someone's gotten a UTI in Bachelor history.
Maybe they give them more time, but I'm sure they have.
They just put a lot of cranberry juice on set.
Probably.
For fantasy weeks.
Yes. Cranberry juice and penicillin.
So Rachel says, we need to talk. And she kicks the pottery instructor out of the room. Poor pottery instructor, RIP girl, we saw you. We saw
you. She's standing alone, just playing with this ball.
Poor girl. And they talk, and Rachel expresses how upset she's feeling.
Mm-hmm.
They talk. Everything honestly seemed really surface, and this seemed like a conversation that like you would have with your first high school boyfriend after he was like sitting with another girl at lunch or something. You know what I mean? Like it just seemed very surface, and like there wasn't much depth to this.
Yeah, this was frustrating to me. It felt like it was attention grabbing, and yeah, I don't know. I feel like she's just jealous. That's all she is. And she doesn't really know why, because she doesn't understand her own insecurities. And so she's just going to Matt to be more reassured that he thinks that she's pretty.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was boring. There wasn't any depth to it. And I
Matt
feel like
immediately brings up, oh, well, when I saw you fall out of that plane, I'm like, imagine a world without Rachel. I don't want to.
and then he says that he's falling in love with her.
So he could have said it back to Michelle and Bree.
Yup. At least that he's falling, that maybe not that he loves them too, but that he's falling. Really, dude, Rachel's who you're falling for? How much depth does Rachel have? It's going to be a pretty short fall.
Just like that fall from that plane, girl.
It's more like a tumble, honey.
The real hero is the man who is strapped to Rachel that let her fall out of that plane.
Yes, thank you, sir.
And I feel like they have to get tested before they come to The Bachelor. I feel like that's just like a rule.
I was thinking how many shots you have to take.
Like, tequila, tequila. I have to be wasted to go on The Bachelor.
You gotta be. I'm sure they all were when they filled out the application.
Yeah, I'll do it. I want to live in a hotel for 10 weeks. But so Matt does say he's falling in love with Rachel, and I don't know if that was more so just like, I'm gonna say this to make this problem go away.
I don't think so.
Or if he was like, no, I'm falling in love with Rachel.
I think he thinks he's falling in love with her because when others I agree, Lori, shot for a shot. One on the arm, one down the gullet. I think that when other situations have come up where girls are feeling very insecure like this, he does not reassure them very well. He just says, thank you for telling me that, or thank you for sharing that with me, when they're like, my life.
But Rachel, if I'm correct, Rachel did not say that to him.
That she's falling for him?
But did she say, I'm falling in love with you?
She said it before. I don't remember if she said it right before he did in this conversation, but she has said it. She said that she loves him.
She said it on the one-on-one.
Yeah, like she has said before that she just loves him. So
I don't think she said like, I love you. I think she said, I'm falling in love with you.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
She does say I love you later.
Comments if we're wrong.
Yeah, she says I love you later tonight though.
Yeah. So surprise, surprise, Rachel says yes to going to oh wait, no, they go on their little dinner day, and guess what? Matt talks about his dad again.
Yep. And they don't get dinner, they get a charcuterie board on a couch.
They eat a charcuterie board on the couch, don't even eat it, just sits there. And then Matt says, you want to go to the fantasy suite? And she says, yes, I do. And then there's fireworks while they make out on the bed. Why did they save the fireworks for Rachel? They should have given the fireworks to Bree, who had the shit date.
Yep. Yeah. Why does one person get fireworks too? Like no one else got anything special like that. It seems. No. Who's planning this? Who's winning? What do you think?
Didn't seem fair.
Nope.
Did not seem fair.
And so she throws him down on the bed immediately. Did you notice that? As soon as they opened the door, she was like, ooh.
Oh, yeah. They're like, we are ready for these conversations now.
Yeah. It's going to be really tough.
You get out your dictionary. You get out your
Get out your dictionary.
We are having a full-on conversation. Punctuated.
Yeah, that.
We do not get to see their morning after, which I can only assume was totally magical.
Must have been.
Oh my God.
Too magical for us to see.
We go right into the rose ceremony. Chris greets all the women. They all seem nervous. They're all wearing really pretty black dresses. And first rose goes to Michelle. And the second rose, oh wow, big shock, goes to Rachel.
What?
Bree's leaving this episode?
What? Who?
Who would have known? It's not like she had 2 seconds of screen time, even during her own date.
So frustrating.
Yeah, that's
about it.
That is the whole episode. We do get to see their little breakup conversation while Matt walks Bree out. And I do feel bad for her because remember that Bree quit her job for Matt. Bree quit her
Mm-hmm.
job to be here.
Mm-hmm. I hated Matt's breakup. It makes me so mad. Whenever we get to see anything, which we haven't seen very much, it's always so base. And this conversation was so base. He's just like, it's really that situation where like, it's not me, it's you. And then she's just like, okay, cool.
No, he said it's not you,
Well,
it's me.
yeah, that's what I meant. Whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know what I mean. It's not you, it's me. And then Bree's just like, yeah, okay, well, and then she goes on about like, you really meant something to me. This is going to, this meant a lot to me. It's gonna hurt, but I'll move on. But this didn't mean a lot to me, and I just think it's a bummer. And like he can't even say that. Really? After all this, he can't even just say that. All he can say is it's not you, it's me.
Yeah.
He can't say like you really matter to me.
It's like, cool, thanks.
Yeah, that made me mad.
It really seemed like he should have sent Bree home last week. Because
I agree.
we all knew he was going to. With his reaction to how Serena left.
He was going to send Bree home.
We knew. So it wasn't fair for him to bring her onto this date.
No, he shouldn't. No, he shouldn't have like kept her on just in case.
Yeah. Fiction.
Lori got my joke.
Love it. But yeah, no, it did not seem fair for Bree to be here this week. And it almost seemed like we're leading Ani to me.
I agree. I didn't like it.
Yeah, not a fan. But I'm glad that she, got her screen time. I'm sure we'll see her again in the Bachelor universe.
Yeah, I can see it.
Do a Paradise season for sure, or coming back for another Bachelor season.
Mm-hmm. I could see her back for another Bachelor season.
Mm-hmm. I could see her again. She was unique enough and memorable enough just for quitting her job to be here the first time that there would be a compelling story for her to return.
What else does she have to do?
She's not working. Sorry.
I said it first.
Episode.
Yes.
So our first superlative is our top love connection of the week. Our top love connection is not necessarily who we think is going to win, but who we think connected with the best this episode, or just what we liked the best about this episode.
Yes.
So, and feel free to let us know what your top love connection was as well. Ken, what was your top love connection of the week?
My love connection of the week, as much as I hate to say it, was Rachel and Matt. Just the way that they were like so high school-y.
Yeah.
It was very like High School Musical. Like, do you like me? Yeah, baby, I love you. Like, it was.
Oh, but do you like me?
Yeah.
I love you.
And then they're like throwing clay on each other and shit. Like, I don't like it, but I do think that they had the best connection this episode, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, I agree with that, Lori. It is stupid to quit your job for The Bachelor.
I agree. Maybe she did hate her job, though. Who knows?
Yeah, she got out of there, so you know what? Good for you. Yeah. My top love connection is also Rachel, unfortunately.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not expect that from you. We had the same.
Because, like, what else? This whole
what else was there? Right.
Centered around Rachel. Mm-hmm. Even after every single date, we went back to Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was. The producers are shoving Rachel at us so hard, but she's also a villain, which is the wild thing.
Right. But we don't.
Aside from everything that we know now about her,
yeah,
she would still be a villain in this episode.
Yeah, she would be. You're right. You're right. Because she was the one that was trying to stir things up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because think about how they have done this season so far, where they usually have one girl who's freaking out or doing something weird, and she's kind of like the villain of the episode.
Oh, always, yeah.
Her for this episode.
Yeah.
So she's the villain right now.
Right.
And it's weird for us to have a villain winner. I mean, it's not unheard of in the Bachelor franchise.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like it happens. I feel like there's almost always a winner in the or a villain in the top three. But
but for her to win, you know what I mean?
Yeah, usually the better girl wins out. Which
I
maybe we will.
Michelle is getting a winner's edit, but Rachel is dominating the screen time. So it's really weird and hard to tell, but you can tell that Matt really only has eyes for Rachel, and it just keeps coming back around to her every time.
But we also know from previews for next week that something big happens, and so that could be surrounding Rachel, and so maybe that's why she's getting so much screen time, but Michelle is getting the winner's edit.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah,
I feel like this whole Rachel villain edit will start to make sense more
next week. I think so too.
So let's get into our hot mess of the episode.
Yes.
Who is your hot mess?
My hot mess this week was them making that poor pottery girl go on this date. I felt so bad for her when like they were off talking in a room and they panned back to the pottery girl and she's just standing in the pottery room throwing a ball of clay around like, all right, what do I do now? Poor girl. Like, why'd they make her do this? Like, they left them alone with the clay on the wheel and they didn't give a fuck what they were doing anyway. Like, just let them fuck around if you don't care. You obviously don't.
My hot mess of this week is the fucking tent date.
The tent date? Really? Why? I'm going to take you camping.
No. I mean, I camp. I've done it. But like to be like, okay, our date is just us pitching a tent. Easily the worst part of camping is pitching the tent.
Yeah, they didn't even have s'mores.
They did. They showed that in the post credits.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't watch that part.
Kendra just doesn't watch the post credits, and I'm a real Bachelor fan, and I watch the post credits. So
yeah, I sometimes do, but I was like, this girl went home. I don't care.
No, they did have s'mores, but it was weird because I'm just like, this is the worst. They cut out all the fun parts of camping and just
made them do the hard part.
I'm like, who thought of this?
I like it.
Like, you know what? Let's have them go camping, but make it shitty.
Yes. Make it hard.
So that was my hot mess.
He's always testing her with the outdoors. Like, she's like, why am I always going on these outdoors dates?
I feel like because our story editor was like, we have to make this girl more interesting.
We have to give her some sort of line.
So we have to like put her in weird situations. But yeah, I'm glad you agree with me, Kelly, because the tent date was weird and bad and super out of place in comparison to the ceramics date would have been fun if Rachel hadn't Racheled the whole
ruined it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The butter was also a hot mess. I agree. It was,
yeah, absolutely.
Every date was bad. Like they all had potential to be okay, but they were all executed very poorly.
Just a weird batch of dates. Weird batch of dates. Anyways, y'all, it is that time for us to plug ourselves. You can follow me at alexknowsitall.jpg on Instagram, alexknowsitall on Twitter. You can find me anywhere if you look that up.
And you can, yep, that's me. Instagram at Ken.joy.yw and the same thing on Twitter.
And make sure that you follow the Couch Potato Queens on YouTube and Twitter, at Couch Potato QWNZ on Twitter, and Couch Potato Queen spelled normally on Facebook and YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe so that way you can see all of our stuff. We also have a Bravo recap podcast and a Drag Race recap podcast that happens directly after Untucked. So come talk to us about that. And you know what, y'all? Don't let anybody dull your sparkle. We'll see you next week for the finale.
Yes, the finale next week.
Yes, bye.
Bye.